if you were to pick one or two, your company, if you're picking, one or two technologies or something you're really focused on, you think this is, or a process or whatever, initiative, whatever it is, you think, your company believes this is what's going to help us. And if you like to, prioritize a little bit, what do you think are the priorities of your company, maybe to bring some new processes or new technologies within your company that can have a significant impact? Maybe Jim, could I ask? Go ahead, go ahead, Jim.
Okay. Yeah, I think two things came to mind, right, as you were asking the question. One is mobility. Obviously, is a big interest of ours, and we're going to make some significant pushes in that. And I think it goes beyond just do I have an app to do that kind of thing, but also what we're seeing on the manufacturing floor as we've been experimenting with this is how do we use mobile video conferencing, for instance, so that we're a very lean organization, so our experts are in high demand. They spend a lot of time on airplanes solving issues for either customers or for ourselves. How do we get them easier access, better collaboration, better visibility into what's actually happening either at our customer site or in our own facilities, and get swifter solutions to issues, both for ourselves and for our customers. So, I think there's mobility, a whole range of issues there, but that's one that we're very interested in manufacturing. I think the other thing that I'm sure wouldn't surprise anybody is that we're very interested in big data and analytics, and how do we get more out of the information that we have captured in our systems, whether it's ERP or manufacturing, and then how do we mine that information and create, I think somebody said it yesterday in one of the panels, not just analysis of the results, but predictive analysis. I think that's absolutely where we want to be. We want to be in the predictive realm, but first we have to walk and learn how to do the analysis the right way. So I think those are two big things that come to mind on a list of many.
Good. Carrie.
Well, as I mentioned, we're replatforming our ERP systems, and we're all very eager to get that done. Once you get a foot in multiple camps of the old and the new, you want that done with. But I'm excited as what I can see when we get to that point. Previously, with our older Dow business model, we had some vertical integration capabilities, which we are replicating in our more continuous plants. But in recent years, as we have, again, acquired Roman Haas with more market-facing businesses and other businesses as well, they have come in with their own automation solutions for which we do not have good vertical integration capabilities. Each of these businesses, it's interesting to hear about General Dynamics and each of these businesses having kind of an autonomous view, and we're trying to balance what they would like with a pretty standard approach that we can do more vertical integration. So we're excited to get this replatforming done so that we can make that capability there down to the plant floor from the ERP.
Good. John, a little bit just more closer to the future for next few years at your business. Are you focusing on a couple of big things?
I think there's three things I would say. One is bio, environmentally friendly products, or friendlier products, and trying to use both our own development but acquisition as well of what products are out there, because I think one of the real opportunities we have now is as a global company to look around the world and see where there are small pockets of really high-performing biometalworking, high-performance products that, frankly, we can acquire and globalize. And we've just done that in the US, and we're globalizing it, but right across it. So either by our own development or acquisition. So I think that's really important for our customers. The second one, and it's linked to comments that's just been made, but from a different perspective, which is the lean manufacturing. Because we facilitate it. We don't have the systems. We don't have their dynamics, but we actually have the access in the plant. In many plants, we have actually people full-time who look at the processes and manage the chemical management. But how do we work to really drive and change the behaviors on the plant? Because I think that if the systems are there, how do we then work to really drive the lean manufacturing? And the final point, again, slightly different, but the same comment, which is mobility. We deal with cars, we deal with trucks, etc. And that dynamics of that are changing today. So how do we drive change and product and thought leadership within that? Those are the three.
Norbert, do you?
Well, let me focus on processes, not about the products of Bayer, because I'm in the engineering area. As I said already, I think the biggest part and challenge for Bayer and focus will be really to go into the small modular plants based on microtechnology. And so we put a lot of efforts in cooperation with other chemical companies, with a lot of universities, also funded by the European Union on that in the first already producing. And there is a lot of challenges around it, from supply chain, from logistics, from technology. For instance, if the reactor has this size, we don't like to have a pressure transmitter from this size connected with it. So many small technology development required for this. This, I think, is one of the very big, the major focus for the next 5 to 10 years. Another point, maybe a smaller point, is also in the existing plant we have to make improvements, and we are still, we're fighting, but there is still room for improvement in the reliability. So we are still not using the entire 8,500 hours a year, which we have. I think it's 8,500, as far as I remember. We don't use every hour a year for production. We still have small shutdowns to do repair work and everything, and we are therefore working on a paradigm shift in condition monitoring and asset life cycle management. This is just starting now. We have a lot of things in place, like risk-based inspection and so on, but and of course we have vibration monitoring, these things, but we want to go next very big step that we can forecast also for the non-intelligent equipment without microprocessor. What is the situation? When will be upset conditions and so on? This, I think, is the next big challenge also for us. Yeah.
Dean, on your side, one or two things.
Yes, you know, Andy. Thursday, we're hosting an organization that just got stood up. It's called the Smart Manufacturing Leadership Coalition, and Andy was kind enough to give us accommodations here. To have our first meeting of this large group of companies that have expressed interest in becoming members, and it's a brand new initiative. Just stood up a 501c6 organization, and we're focused on some of the things that you've just heard my colleagues up here talk about. This whole idea of smart manufacturing and having analytics coming off the shop floor, coming off every individual machine tool, and being able to analyze all that streaming data and use it for predictive maintenance, use it for production control, et cetera. So to me, smart manufacturing is kind of the future area that we're going to be focusing on at the company that I work at. We're really at just kind of at the birthing stage right now of that. I think MT Connect is going to be a big facilitator for smart manufacturing. So a lot more to follow. I'd look forward maybe coming back next year, Andy, talking about what we're doing, but we're really just starting that, but I'm pretty excited about it.
Okay, good. Could we poll if there are any questions out there? Any raise of hand? Yeah, please, over here. And any question over here? Okay.
Hello, Dick Hawley with AT&T. The question I have, John, I heard you saying that the biggest waste is developing a product without the insight of the customers, and that we really should be focusing external to the company and not necessarily back internally. What I'd like to ask you and others is, how are you involving the customers? What systems and new systems do you see that would be needed to facilitate those collaborations? How are you organizing so that you can get technical people who really have the understanding of the technical functions of your business involved in understanding the impact of those customer product needs?
So the first and most simple thing I do is in everybody's, we call it performance contract for the year. Everybody in the company has a performance contract metric to spend at least 2 days a month with the customer. And I don't mean sales, I mean IT, technology, finance, secretariat, everybody has to spend time out with the customers to get the insights. So that's one thing, because if you ever want to energize a business, go out and spend time with your customers. I can't think of a better way to do it. It beats conferences, it beats everything. So that's the first piece. And just building on that, there is no question as you get and build relationships and deeper relationships with the customers, it's not the sales force they want to talk to. It's the technologists, it's the finance people, it's the economists in your organization, it's the people in sustainability. So when we build that relationship, we define value streams. So it's not just an amorphous mass. We have a clear set of value streams, one of them being technology. Sometimes it's environmental issues, sometimes it's working with governments, etc., depending on where it is in the world. So we have a very formal approach to that with our key accounts and suppliers.
Good. I like to ask, obviously right now so much change is going on. And yesterday we a little bit talked about, how do you create sort of a culture, your company needs to become more and more, maybe technology friendly or change, people don't like to change. And how are you going about at your company, if you have any initiative to create sort of a technology friendly culture at your company? Would you like to start?
Yeah, as I mentioned earlier, Andy, the way General Dynamics is doing that is with the annual manufacturing symposium. I mean, it is truly a high level of recognition for our youngest and brightest people. And I've been told by dozens of them that have attended, what a great honor it was for them, how much they look forward to it every year. Of course, they're always very excited when their paper gets selected. We also give an award out to each company. Of the 13 General Dynamics companies, each company president selects one of their either individuals or a team award for introducing a new manufacturing technology. So to me, that over the last 7 years, we've really developed a culture across General Dynamics that says we're going to recognize these contributions, we're going to reward these contributions, and it really has, the number of white papers that the committee now receives every year, it's tripled from the first year because more and more people are saying, yeah, I want to come up with the next great idea, and I want to do this, and I want to get that, that trophy or whatever it is.
Right. Okay. Maybe Carrie or Dow, or do you have any kind of a program?
Well, interesting that went through my mind here is, again, the project that we're doing is involving many hundreds of people to do this ERP project. And what we've been doing is really, instead of, of course we're pulling on the SMEs that have known our work processes and known our tools for the last 20 plus years, but we're really going and trying to seek out the newer, younger, next generation of employees to get involved as well. They don't necessarily have to be an expert in their work process or those tools today, but use this as an opportunity to bring them in. It's a great career opportunity to not just find out about your area, about maintenance or quality or whatever it might be, but because of the incredible integration that they see across the company, they really get the chance to know how the company works. And for instance, we just had we're implementing in Asia Pacific in May, and we had a product testing session in Michigan, and we had a few hundred folks from Asia Pacific into Michigan. A lot of them very younger, newer employees. It was, number one, kind of an honor for them to be selected from their area to come and be on this testing team. But they're really our kind of voice and people of the future to go out and now understand how things are working across the company, and it gives them great career opportunities later on.
Jim, do you have any program at Owens?
Yeah, I mean, just as a general comment, on any major project or initiative that we have a distinct change management process that goes along with it. So in much the same way that we would plan for the technical development, deployment of any new technology, we have a similar track around the change management that needs to take place on that. So I think that's really important to plan that. In a more general sense around technology, what we've done in the past 2 years is we've created what we call Technology One centers in our headquarters, one in Toledo, our global headquarters, and one in Shanghai, our Asia Pacific headquarters, where people can come in. We do demonstrations, we do, there's a bunch of equipment that our suppliers work with us to seed into the rooms where people can experience the latest video conferencing technology, latest mobile technology, et cetera, so that we can get feedback from our employees on what they would see as value added to their jobs. Also a chance for us to show new things that are coming down the pipe and how we're going to do that. I think as we looked at it at the end of last year, what we're now trying to figure out is how do we be more global around that. I mean, I think I was talking to somebody at dinner last night. I think what we're seeing as well is that we like to think in the United States that we're the most technically advanced around using certain technologies, and that's actually not true anymore. So we need to go to Asia, we need to go to Europe, and we need to see what other folks are doing and how they're working, and then bring that back and then how we look at that from a collaboration standpoint.
Norbert?
Well, I think Bayer has a long culture and history of innovation that you see also in the motto of the company, science for a better life. However, still our CEO, so we have in German saying the fish is smelling from the head. So I think very important is that the top manager wants it, make clear that it wants it. And as a matter of fact, our CEO thinks we are not good enough innovation. So any top manager, so the 250 top manager had to go to a seminar course in the first quarter this year in innovation. We are studying 8 American companies, how good they are in innovation in that course. So it must come from the top. Of course, we have a lot of development organizations, divisions, and so whose job is to produce or to develop new products, and the people are judged in their performance on the results, and the salary also depends, the income on the results. In our small biotechnology companies, we do it a little bit differently. First, our CEO said, I don't want to have profit from you as BTS, and what you deliver as a profit is before innovation. So he is forcing us to spend a certain amount of millions in innovation, at least, at minimum. If we spend more, it's okay. And we have to deliver a profit minus innovation. So we can make minus according to the money we spend in innovation. So this is a big sign from the CEO to us. And we are also awarding our people in salary, in income, in bonus, depending on the results, what they deliver innovation. Of course, you cannot just make a chaos. Everybody is delivering ideas and you're spending money for this. We have processes on this, starting from technology scouting, having budget for every division, defining projects and all things. But from top management down to all levels, we are encouraging our people to define processes, new projects, new ideas, and then, of course, we are filtering. Very important. If you first have the ideas, you have to filter. We have a portfolio management in which area we want to go, and then we are defining projects and giving the money. And most in cooperation with the academia, with German and European universities, in US also with some US universities, or even with other companies. So we are much in favor also for so-called organized open innovation, not internet-based, like we studied in the case in the United States of a company. Just go into the internet and say, here's a problem, where's the solution, and the provider gets $5,000 or something like this. So this is not the way we are doing. We are looking if it can have advantage for us, but we are inviting for projects other companies, other partners, or universities to join us in bringing in fresh ideas on that way. Yeah.
Good. John, would you like to add anything?
I'd just try and add, rather, I think we all do a lot of similar things. We've opened a big technology center in India and in China in the last couple of years to really go and recruit people locally, because there's no point in, unless you're there and unless people feel they can own it, I think it's difficult. And again, the colleges around the world just trying to build that relationship, I think, is really important.
Good. I think we have a question over here. Go ahead.
Paul Studebaker with a publication called Sustainable Plant. And several of the panelists have mentioned sustainability as a driver or initiative. Can any of you comment on reasons to pay attention to it other than cost savings and utility reductions and regulatory compliance, the things you should be doing anyway?
I can start. I was hoping, for me, that's the given. I think it's a competitive advantage. I think, there is a real drive in all our industries that allows us to gain significant competitive advantage by looking at this. It just makes business sense, not just from the fact of are we breaking the law, but actually how do we move it forward? And it's that piece in terms of products and services, etc., that says there is no compromise on sustainability. It's not, well, you'll get 5% less performance, but it's more sustainable. It's how do you use sustainability to get better products and be more sustainable, performance-wise as well as sustainable. That's what we're spending a lot of time on, but I do think it's a real competitive advantage.
Anyone else? Go ahead, Norbert.
Maybe I can add, it's the same idea you have also. We always saying we have two dimensions. One dimension, if you make a very simple picture, one dimension is the license to operate, and we need, of course, also new technology in this. It is safety and sustainability, environmental protection. This, we call it's a license to operate. If we don't do it, we cannot produce anyhow. No? And the other thing is what you said is a competitive advantage. We have to do it to earn money and also to secure that we survive. No? And if we don't have a competitive advantage, we will not survive in that. It can be a better quality, a better product. It can be lower cost. No? Best if it's both. Yeah? If it's both.
Carrie, you go ahead.
Interesting. All the things that everyone said, completely agree. It's the right thing to do. It's a competitive advantage. The other thing I have found in recent years of campus recruiting and hiring folks is they're interviewing us about what are your sustainability plans? What are you doing? I want to work for a company that has a good sustainability program. And I've found as you go out and talk to new employees, I've got to be up on that so I can talk about it, because that is really what's important to what I see as a newer generation of employees coming out of school and really wanting not just a good job, but working for a company with those principles as well.
I have last question here. We have talked about, the partnerships with the suppliers and service providers and so forth. Going forward, what sort of advice maybe you have, or what kind of contract you think, relationships you should form? Right now we are seeing the different service models are kind of emerging. Obviously IT companies have their service model and so forth. You have any ideas maybe how perhaps, what is the best kind of relationship that you should have with the companies? How do you measure their performance and so forth going forward? Maybe John, if you could start.
I think the first piece of advice I give is don't come in with your agenda. Come in with an open mind, because I think we far too often come in with our list of actions of what we want to get out of it, rather than actually what is the end game. So, and I know from my organization that's one of the big behavioral shifts we had to make. I think the other piece, and it's very different in different parts of the world, but it's the concept of win-win. If I earn $10 million and my supplier earns $100 million, does that feel good or does it feel bad? Well, it may be $10 million I would never have earned otherwise, because you're not always going to have an even output from it. I think that would be the second piece. And also, step outside the square on who your partners and where your ideas will come from. It's this adoption and adaptation from other areas and other industries. It's not necessarily your traditional suppliers that are going to give you the route and the key to the future.
Who wants to go next? Go ahead, Jim.
Yeah, I'll add to that, and I think John had some good points there. I think the other thing that we found that's very successful for us is to be very active in the space of relationship management with your suppliers. Being open and communicative of what your needs are and what your expectations are with them, and being open to that. And I think and when the suppliers are not necessarily meeting your needs, having a very direct conversation about that, particularly in the space of innovation, because I think the other thing that we've really tried to work on, and we found this to be extremely difficult, is to get supplier companies to collaborate together. And we've been very clear with our key suppliers, and this is part of our relationship management strategy, is that we don't believe there's any one supplier out there that's going to solve all of Owens Corning's problems in one shot. So we really need them collaborating together. Each will get a satisfactory piece of the pie, in terms of sharing that value stream, but only if we can come up with the solutions that'll make a difference for Owens Corning.
Carrie?
Yes, like the others, we have large strategic partnerships with many vendors on the commodity IT side, on application side, automation side. But you usually find when you've got a relationship where after the contract's been renegotiated and people are dancing and saying, we won, sometimes that doesn't end up being the win. It ends up being that it was kind of lopsided and it may not be the best long-term situation. We have had a 17-year relationship with Accenture, and it's been fairly transparent on both sides, and it works out to be a win-win because we're constantly reopening, renegotiating, relooking at that, and it's grown and it's changed as our needs have changed over the years. And you really don't have something last that long without pretty much a strong win on both sides.
Anyone? Go ahead, Norbert.
One thing maybe to add, only everything we also is our experience, but I think also trust is very important, especially in the development area, innovation area, because at least I haven't seen any project in development which goes just straight through, where from the beginning you can make a development plan for the partners and guarantee how much you will buy and so on. You go through up and downs, and you can successfully go through up and downs only when from the beginning there is some kind of joint vision and a trust to each other, that every partner is doing its best to make it successful. If this is not from the beginning there, my experience is it's better not start. And now it's a question how to find new partners. Yeah, we are then, because trust is also experience, based on experience, long-term experience. Normally we are open for new partners, but then we start with very, very small projects, no? Because you need to know each other, then the risk is lower, and the big ones we normally do with partners we knew since a long time, where everybody looking each other into the eyes that yes, we do it. We are ready to invest $1 million or $3 million or even more, and we are ready to work together for the next 3 or 5 years. Yeah.
Dean, do you work with partners?
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of different in our world because, there's only a couple of companies in the United States that make tank ammunition, and there's only a few suppliers that make some of the critical components. But we partner very closely with them, and when we have program review meetings with our customer, we have our supplier partners right there with us at all those program review meetings. So it's a very transparent process with our customers and our suppliers.
Mm-hmm. Good. Excellent. I think that's a good time to stop for us.